Hello everyone, welcome back to Lab4crypto. People's interest in Bitcoin and in crypto lately is at extremely low levels, and I wanted to outline what my expectations are for Bitcoin and crypto as we enter more deep into summer. And you can read also my latest article, which I published 2 days ago, which I'm gonna go more in depth in this video and in short explain how I am navigating the market, what targets I am aiming for Bitcoin to reach to start making some moves. Because of course, with all this uncertainty around the world lately, I understand completely that everyone now is in a sit and hold position, and they want to estimate as best as possible where the market is going in the summer and of course by the end of year. So let's dive in. So the title was Bitcoin at Crossroads, Summer 2025, 2 years and Outlook. Of course, you know that we have a lot of uncertainties around Bitcoin and markets in general, of course. We have threats of World War III. We have some uncertainty around trade deals, which now everyone is expecting US next move regarding any deals between US and Europe, between US and China, and so on. Of course, also we have the Federal Reserve decision on potential rate cuts, which is something that the market projects that the next rate cut will be in September. So don't expect any major movements in summer. Also, the market's eyes is at the back of Japan's stance around quantitative tightening, which that will induce more pressure into the markets due to the yen carry trade that we saw some unwind a couple of months ago, and the markets are now waiting to see what the BOG will say to see if that will have any impact on the markets in general. And of course, we have the seasonality that we have on Bitcoin, which basically in summer we see some weak months, and especially historically that it's August and September. But let's start from the beginning of the table, from the article, and I will come back to that point lately. From all this uncertainty, we have some good news in the data regarding Bitcoin, which I wanted to outline. And the reason that I wrote this article is because of this question. A lot of people ask me that, should I still be in the market? And my opinion is that the risk of being out of the market is greater than that of being in it. So it's good for you to have some perspective, some expectations, and some strategy as you navigate this volatile period of the market. First, let's check our risk model, which is doing basically an amazing job for the last 14 years, and it's something that I'm basically using and taking my calls based on that. And then I'm using complementary data to feel more confident to make moves on my portfolio, of course. So now you will see that Bitcoin risk based on our algorithm is at 28%, which when you are in a bull run, that actually is a really good time to start thinking accumulation ways. And if we check some risk values lately, you will see that when we were close at 27% risk, which was in April 2025, Bitcoin then moved to values of 111 a month later. And therefore, my point is, when you are below 30% risk in period which there is no hype, there is no leverage, and we are still in a bull run, it's a good time to start thinking some entry points. And on this video, I will tell you two of my entry points because, of course, I already have a position on BTC, but I have exited close to 109 and 108 with took some profits off the table because I wanted to take advantage of any potential dips because, of course, my end year goal has not changed at all. I still believe that Bitcoin at the end of year has the potential to go to values above 180k, and that is the reason that I took some chips off the table. But of course, if Bitcoin moves to higher values, I will still get the upside because I am still in the market. Moving on, I wanted to say something about whales and institutions. What we can see is that we can see that from ETFs. For example, you can see BlackRock from the beginning, which they had only one BTC in January 2024. You can see the trend that now is up into the right, and their current value of Bitcoin that they hold is at 662k of Bitcoin, so 662,000 Bitcoin that they hold, which that value is around 17 billion, so you will know. And that trend does not seem to basically slow down. Of course, occasionally we have some dips because people, they want to take profits. And anyway, everyone here wants sometimes to take some profits off the table. And you will see that currently the Bitcoin supply, which is in profit, is 92.9%, and only basically 7% of the supply is in loss. So that is what happens in the markets. People take some chips off the table when they need to, and that is why you see these ups and downs. But of course, the general trend is to the upside. Also, if we go and check the Andres' balances of accounts, for example, which they hold 100 to 1000k, 100 to 1000 Bitcoin, you will see that basically is still moving to the upside from April 2025, and even basically we can go even further back. You'll see from March, what we are seeing is that Bitcoin is, these wallets value are keep increasing. The amount basically was 15.9k wallets had between 100 to 1000 Bitcoin, and now this value are at 16 basically k.3, which it's the purple line, and what you can see is that it's again up into the right. Also, that occurs to larger wallets, and it's good for you to explore what whales and institutions are doing, because it's telling you that people that are more, let's say, experienced in the market are taking some moves which are worth for you to at least acknowledge. Let's go back into the article. So we saw ETFs, we saw whales, and of course, I'm sure that you are seeing many S&P 500 companies like Coinbase, which also have Bitcoin. You'll see MicroStrategy, you see MetaPlanet, and many companies are now becoming Bitcoin treasury companies, and they are keep accumulating Bitcoin, which that again is something that is worth for you to observe every week. And it's important for us to keep seeing these companies accumulating BTC, because roughly 445 is the number I think on top of my head of the daily issuance of Bitcoin. So the number of Bitcoin that are minted every day. And if these companies, which they take large amounts of it, keep accumulating, that means there's going to be a point, because Bitcoin has a fixed supply, which it will drive Bitcoin prices higher, and then it will induce FOMO from retail, and then is where we have this blow of tops, which my expectation is that it will happen at the end of the year or at the beginning of the next one. Moving forward, yeah, I spoke about Bitcoin monthly returns, and then now we are going to the interesting part. At which level I'm planning to accumulate Bitcoin, of course, is not a financial advice, is what I am planning to do. And that is close to the bull market support band and close to the 100K level, which when Bitcoin dropped, when we had the start, let's say, of the conflict between Iran and Israel, we had Bitcoin dropped close to 100K point four. So it was 100,400, the value that it dropped, and we saw that it bounced really well, which that shows some strength from Bitcoin. But of course, no one knows what's going to happen in the future between war and if they're going to have a deal and end everything peacefully or not. Therefore, for me, I'm watching this level as a point which I will consider to accumulate, but the point which I will definitely start accumulating will be close to the Bitcoin bull market support band. This value now basically is the the 20-week SMA and the 21-week EMA. And this value is, let's say, at 96K. If we see the orange line, which is the 21-week EMA, because it's a range. So it's at 21-week EMA is at 96.1K. Moving forward, I wanted to also highlight that the 100K level, which is a psychological level for many traders, also it aligns with the fair value of Bitcoin using the price power law model. So Bitcoin fair value currently is at 99.7K, which we saw that from April. It's holding very well as a level. So Bitcoin now it's trading at its fair value, let's say. So I will expect when we have this level as a strong psychological level for many people, because don't forget Bitcoin is above 100K for more than a month now. It's hovering above these values from a 8th of May. So we're checking the closing prices. So from 8th of May until today, which is more than a month, so it's like 40 days, Bitcoin is holding strong above 100K. So I will expect that it's going to be a fight between bears and bulls around 100K, but a strong level, a strong support is something close to 96K, which, as I said, I will accumulate if Bitcoin risk is still at this price level, at these levels. So for example, if we reach this value and Bitcoin risk is close to 30% or even below, I will accumulate based on the risk level. So let's say if risk level is at 20%, for example, and we go to these values, then I will accumulate more. If it's at 30 or 40% based on the volatility that we're going to see, I'm going to accumulate a fewer amount and DCA as we move and things settle close to the bull market support band, hopefully. Let's go back into the article. So yes, as I said, the risk of being out of this market is greater than the risk of being in it. And the reason is that we are expecting governments around the world to start the QE. Now we already saw them reducing interest rates. Europe did it, UK is doing it, China is doing it. Now we are waiting the US, which US is the only, let's say, major economy which has this high level of interest rates. We are at 4.5%, and we want to start seeing the interest rates going lower because that will help businesses borrow capital easier, start businesses easier, and induce basically capital into the market indirectly, which that is good for the markets. And that is why you see the market moving So um, we have so much volatility close to the announcements of the interest rates cuts from the Federal Reserve, because it's something that the market is expecting to happen. And when that happens, I think will give some confidence to the market to start be more risk on and move to the 180 to 200k expectation that I have for Bitcoin, which that value it's, let's say, if Bitcoin moves to the 2 standard deviation line, which is the green line, sorry, the green line, which is the 2 standard deviation line, which Bitcoin reaches when enters this exponential phase, you will see that as time passes, we have diminishing returns, and the blue line comes closer and closer to the 2 standard deviation line. And if we just assume this time, the blue line will not move above the green line like these cycle tops that we see, and only touches it. And let's say our expectation is that the market top will be, let's zoom to this period, let's say December 27th, the value of Bitcoin will be at 203k. Therefore, that is why I'm expecting Bitcoin at the end of the year with some good news that are expected by the end of the year: the pass of the Genius Act, the deregulation from the US, the Federal Reserve cutting rates, the start of the QE from major economies. I think it can easily bring us to these valuations, and that is why I'm building my portfolio for this period. And this is something that I tell to everyone, that this is the best period to start preparing a strategy and be ready for the next 6 to 9 months, which I think the cycle top will be. And there is where you need to start aggressively exiting the market when we enter this exponential phase, this phase where valuations do not make any sense for various projects and FOMO kicks in. People think that everything is going to go up forever, and then we have the start of the bear market, which are the crashes. I hope you find this video helpful. If you found it, please give us a thumbs up and leave a comment. And until next time, bye bye.